In Freaky Tales, it's 1987, Oakland, California. A mysterious force guides the town's underdogs in four interconnected tales. Teen punks defend their turf against Nazi skinheads. A rap duo battles for hip-hop immortality. A weary henchman gets a shot at redemption, and an NBA All-Star settles the score. Freaky Tales is directed by Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden, and they have previously directed Captain Marvel. It's kind of a funny story and Mississippi grind. Freaky Tales, there is a lot of fun to be had with this film, but most of the fun is in the second half of the film, so you have to be a little bit patient to get anything out of this film. The problem with doing an anthology film is that if some of the stories, some of the characters in the separate stories, if they are not up to par with the rest of the film, they can really drag the film down. And that's the case with this film, Freaky Tales. The film is separated into 4 chapters, and the first 2 chapters are about 20 minutes long each, and the final 2 chapters are about half an hour each, and the first 2 chapters of the film really weigh the film down. The first 2 chapters of the film follow a very similar trajectory in their how they're structured. So the first chapter is these 2 punk rockers. They are trying to get revenge against these Nazi skinheads who keep going into their club and enacting in violence. And the second chapter is these 2 African American teenagers. They really want to be famous for doing hip hop rap battles, and both the first chapter and the second chapter, there's this kind of green mysterious force that is affecting everybody in Oakland in 1987. And in the first 2 chapters, all of the characters use this green force at the end of their chapter to overcome or whatever obstacles in their way. So the first 2 chapters have the very similar narrative structure, and the first 2 chapters of the film have the least interesting characters, the least interesting story. The first chapter with these punk rockers and the skinheads, it goes in a very predictable path, and the second chapter with the 2 young African American girls, they follow the very predictable chart as well, and all of the characters in the first and second chapters are not developed very well and are not very interesting. But the film does really come alive in the 3rd and 4th chapters of the film. The 3rd chapter is starring Pedro Pascal as a henchman who he's been living in Oakland for a long time. He's kind of like a henchman for this local crime boss. He collects, he bashes people and kills people for who owe him money, or his boss money, and he's got a lot of enemies in the town. So his story is very, very interesting, and Pedro's performance is very, very good. And the final chapter of the film is this NBA basketball player, the team he plays for the Golden State Warriors, and while he's playing in the playoffs, all his teammates on his team, all of their homes get robbed on the night of the game, and then one of the basketball player played by Jay Ellis, his family ends up getting killed when his home is robbed, and he has to get revenge. And the 3rd and the 4th chapter of the film have featured the most lengthy and drawn out characters, and they feature a lot of stylistic violence, and the directors really try a lot of things in these 2 chapters to make it more interesting. And this kind of like this mysterious force is this green misty force that invades people's bodies and enables them to do things that they can't otherwise do, is not really explored very well. It's kind of a little bit of a gimmick. The film doesn't really explain where it comes from or how it manifests and what happens afterwards. And this film takes place over several, maybe 3 or 4 days, and most of it over one night. But to flesh the story out, the film is taken over a few days. I give Freaky Tales 2.5 stars out of 5. This film is a bit of a mixed bag. The first 2 chapters of the film really weigh the film down because they don't really have interesting characters, and the narrative structure of those 2 chapters are very predictable. But the film really comes alive in the second half of the film that has really interesting characters played by Pedro Pascal and Ben Mendelsohn, and the directors really try a lot of different stylistic choices when it comes to the violence, and has some animation in the film as well that's very well done. So yeah, this film is a really mixed bag. If you're a patient viewer, maybe I would recommend checking out this film. It has a really like Pulp Fiction type narrative structure to a film where the characters are jumping in and out of each chapters, and it has that kind of feel to the film. The violence is kind of very comic book type violence. So if you're a fan of that type of film, then I would probably recommend checking out Freaky Tales. But for me, it was a bit of a mixed bag. So what did you think of Freaky Tales? Please comment below what you thought of the film. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.